welcome to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
We read this week Ajin, Demi-Human, and I think Shawenta knew who wrote and drew it, it sounded like. It looked like.
Yeah, Gamon Sakurai.
Okay.
Yep.
Gamon Sakurai.
And
Gotcha.
Story by Tsuina Miura.
Okay.
I don't know if you pronounce the T or not.
Again, Anglo tongues, so it's going to be tough, always.
Yeah, it really will.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, one thing that I wanted to bring up about this, or rather, when we discuss manga in general, is that, like, something that I have a hard time with is whether I should, because, I mean, no matter what, both things are able to be critiqued, I think, but, like, understanding what's a writing problem and what's a translation problem will forever haunt me, basically. I'm like, because it's just like,
I mean, it's definitely, like, as we get further, I think it becomes less of a problem as, people become more aware and there's less, outright censorship, on the translator's part. Because I think there was something in Sailor Moon where it was, I think, Neptune and Mercury. Like, in America, they were cousins, but everywhere else, they were lovers.
I mean, it was. I'm pretty sure it was not. It was not outright stated they were. It was just said that they're super close. Wink, wink. And then over here they were like, oh god, no, they're cousins. They're cousins, you guys.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
So to clear up everything.
So yeah, and that was that's obviously something that happened quite a while ago. I don't know exactly when Sailor Moon got imported and translated. So, but I think as we kind of move forward in time, that at least becomes less of a problem. But I guess there will always be things where there's not really an American an English version of this Japanese word, so you kind of have to say more words to get the same gist, but it's not exactly what they meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, our jokes or turn of phrase may not be apparent to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Of course it makes sense, but I mean, in terms of what I was trying to critique at least was in the first chapter, it just seemed like the writing was not very well paced, you know? And it was
the dialogue is really odd in the version I read this time. The version I read last time I felt was a lot more smooth and actually natural for the characters, whereas the version I read this time, I just grabbed out of nowhere, is very choppy and very blunt in some ways, but also, I mean, we can get into how some of the characters feel a little bit flat, as far as the surrounding cast. So, is it translation? Is it meant to be that way? These characters are only this way.
Yeah. That's definitely a good question, and it's interesting. Yeah, that's another thing that just gets my brain is that there's potentially multiple translations, so it's you could even not be reading the right one, or, I mean the right one, the one that is potentially better.
It might not give it the right, might not be doing it justice.
Yeah. That just makes it.
I mean, I picked out the book this week, and man, I do not remember. I always say this. I don't remember how rough those first few chapters are.
So, what do you define rough? Because personally, I was like, "Oh, this is fine."
I feel so there are a lot of the people who, we also looked at some reviews of this, and a lot of them are oh man, it really goes into how society will react to demi-humans, people who technically cannot be killed up to a certain point as far as human knowledge goes. They're so much different than humans. humans' reaction to non-humans, kind of like examining that. And like, from what I remember of the rest of the series, I don't really feel like it delves into that quite as much as like is a vehicle for fights.
Yeah, and I would even say that that's still this volume. Like, I don't see them really delving into that here either.
It's definitely interesting, and I guess I can see it in mainly the main character, Kei Nagai. I can't say his name right. But Nagai is like, you know, his character is set up as like stuck up and like, oh, I always have to be studying because I'm going to become, I mean, in some ways better than everybody else. Like, I have to set myself apart. And then because of the whole thing, and so we didn't mention that the way you find out you're demi-human, immortal, is by dying because you don't die.
Yeah.
So pretty much you're given like a second chance, but it's also a pretty brutal way to find out usually.
Second chance, third chance. Fourth chance.
I like how there was a little one of the characters is all like, yeah, I used to play like Super Mario Brothers and Ice Climbers, and you could get 100 lives. And I was like, how? You couldn't. You're not that good. 100.
I mean, you can if you cheat.
Yeah. Maybe if you're using like a Game Genie or something. Anyway, though, yeah, I don't know. I thought that I did kind of feel that like some of the characters were a little underdeveloped, but I did like how maybe the relationships were a little bit built out. You know, despite them being flat, it felt like, you know, there was history between people. You know, I guess I felt that way.
Yeah, I definitely felt that they were more flat than anything else.
Well, yeah.
So, the connection I was trying to make, I didn't finish, I guess. I forgot halfway. But the connection I was making was pretty much that the battle between am I human, am I not human, and how to treat humans is within the main character, Kei.
Yeah, and yeah.
God, his best friend, Kai.
Yeah, Kei and Kai. I feel like there's like kind of like Cody was saying, like there might be like a weird like Japanese like language quirk that we're missing, like something in the kanji of their name or something that like sets them apart. But like I do think like, and part of what makes me think that is because Kei is like this very studious, very like into the school system kind of person, and Kai isn't. Yes. He's not like a what do you say, like a
delinquent?
Yeah, delinquent. But like he doesn't seem to care that much about school. He's a lot more instead of practical, a lot more emotional, which does end up like working for Kei's favor.
Man,
I should say it's funny because I think Kai kind of takes a backseat and like you don't see him for a ton of chapters later, and so he appears again. I'm like, damn it, the names.
But like Kai is a ride or die because like he gets one call from Kei and is immediately down to assault a cop and steal a bike.
Yeah, and right after the dude was like, "Oh, he's a freak."
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like, sorry about that, and he's like, it's cool, don't worry.
Anyway, I'd die for you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys have like, even if you're struggling, I'm glad that you've wrangled the names in this book, because I was just like, I don't know anybody's name. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
The hardest person for me to remember the name is the assistant. I was like,
just call her the assistant. Like I know it sounds bad, but
she has a name, okay?
Actually,
yes, I know.
I don't remember it,
but yeah.
The one.
Can you recall it off the top of your head?
I mean, I just looked at the name right now, so.
Well, tell us.
Izumi Shimamura.
Okay, Izumi is probably her first name.
Yeah, that's also a weird concept in like Japanese literature that like I've never like truly understood, with like the concept of like the family name and the given name, and unless you're really close to somebody, you refer to them as their family name, not their given name.
I mean, this places a great importance on family, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, but, like, having grown up, basically, like, until I joined the military, everybody called me by what would be my given name. But now I'm in the military, everybody calls me the family name. So it's, like, I guess it's not that weird, but it's, like, culturally, it's different.
Yeah. When you say family name, like, your last name or your, like, full first name?
Like, your family name is your last name.
Okay.
Gotcha. Like, so it'd be Blaza or whatever. For everybody else's, I don't know everybody else's last name at the drop of a hat, but
don't dox me here.
Interesting.
So we were talking about like the supporting cast, right? So this whole like instant reaction the moment everybody finds out he's a demi-human, everybody just instantly turns on him, and like it's interesting with, like, I think later on one of the characters talks about, everybody was so scared 17 years ago when demi-humans were discovered, but as soon as they figured out that demi-humans didn't have, like, any special powers to, like, attack other humans, they kind of calmed down. They're not that dangerous. Yeah. But I'm like, they don't seem calm right now. These people are excited.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more like the general public is, like, fine with it. In the sense of, like, hey, they're there, yeah, but, like, we don't know any of them. And now there's this new discovery, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And
it's
also,
the whole witch hunt thing, right?
Yeah. That is also, too, they
like,
put a bounty on them.
You have to kill them to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
Somehow they know who he is. Like, they could just tell. Like, the guy on the bike just drove right past them, and he was like, that's them.
I don't know, but, like, isn't that, like, the day after, and it's like, hey, 2 middle schoolers stole a bike and ran away, and then you see 2 middle schoolers on a bike riding the opposite direction of where that happened. Like, you should at least get, like, a closer look.
That's a
to
little
be
too
fair,
far. That's a far
it's
stretch.
like, it's probably within the same, like, county. I don't think there's counties over there. But you know what I mean. There's just within the same county. You just found, like, one of, like, there's 2 other demi-humans in Japan.
Yeah.
And you found you found a third one. So, like, everybody's gonna know about it. You found the third demi-human in the United States or something. It's in this state. Everybody's gonna know to look out. Also, maybe we just don't see all the, like, motorcyclists attacking other random motorcyclists in that area.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just gonna... So, okay. Oh, okay. So, currently, I don't know what it was when this book came out, but the exchange rate for the US dollar and the Japanese yen is 106. So, like, yeah, basically... over $1 million, you know. I know personally I would not just like randomly like try to kill somebody for $1 million, but I'm sure there's people out there that would.
You're a good man.
$1 million isn't enough to live on the rest of your life with having imprisoned somebody.
That's why
it needs to be at least
invest.
Like. I mean, yeah, like I guess we say that because like because we're still at the point where, like, we would still view them because, like, they look human as human. But they've gone, like, almost 20 years of, like, demi-humans aren't really humans. So you can just treat them however you want.
Yeah.
And then, like, if you can just treat them however you want, and then you get $1 million for doing that, like... Because, like, they are ready to go, like, immediately. With, like... Man, let's get those kids. Even his friends, like after, like they see him get hit by a truck, and then walk it off, and then they're like, "Oh, he's a demi-human." I hear people who like can get demi-humans get like a ton of money. Let's get him.
Not
I love this scene after that.
That's not even the
where
worst
Kai
part.
is like gets told about it, and he's like, whatever. Like he's not even like, whoa. He's just like, still my best friend ever.
That's not even the worst part. His own family was like, oh no, he's
Immediately
nothing to me anymore.
Sells him straight down the river.
His mother was like, my son, I mean Ray. I'm like, what? Or well, not Ray. Kei. I'm like, what?
Like, that hurts.
Yeah.
Like, your own mom sells you out? Like, that hurts.
His sister, his little sister, she's like, I grew up with him. She's like, I had no idea that he was pretending. He just can't die. That's it. Like, he didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
Yeah. But they were all like, was there anything weird about him? I think they were like, he was very studious, right? Was that the thing that they said was weird?
Yeah. Basically,
I think they said like he was aloof or something. Mm-hmm. Like they're just like, oh, he just thought he's better than us.
Yeah, I felt like that was like kind of funny. Like almost like I could feel the writer being all like, man, I feel like like if like it felt really real if this situation were true, where it was like, oh, even basically Kei is essentially human, biologically not necessarily, he's immortal, but like for all intents and purposes, there's nothing weird like psychologically about him, and that's kind of like a lot of the theme of the book too. But it's like, once everybody views you differently, it's all like, this is weird about this person, It's like, it's just like all those weird little ticks that make you a person, And then they're like, aha, that means you're not a person.
It's like, it makes so much sense now.
Although I will say, like, that's not the only thing that they say is weird about him. He also, like, occasionally just talked about seeing this weird black ghost around.
Hey,
True.
that was one
Which
time.
is...
Yeah, true. That was his sister,
I mean,
yes.
Okay, but it was
She's
weird
a
enough
kid.
that, his younger sister remembers, even though she must have been fairly young.
Yeah.
It's like, if you remember anything after that long, when you were that young, like, it has to be fairly formative.
Yeah. To me, it was like, you must have been aware of demi-humans when you were that young. Like, you must have been told, look out for these signs. Because to be like that simple of a thing, like, oh, there's a ghost, like, run. And you remember that to this day, I don't know, it feels like you were trying, feels a little weird.
Don't agree, and I'm going to blame the dog trauma.
I guess, yeah, you could blame the dog trauma.
Okay, but also, like, I don't think they've had that eventful of a life. I guess her being in the hospital is kind of, like, a big part of it. That's going on. But, I don't know. Also, as you were saying, Talon, like, it was found out demi-humans exist 17 years ago when he was born. The year he was born. But, I mean, that's coincidental because, like, a lot of the demi-humans seem older, so...
Okay.
The thing I was trying to say is they just discovered it then. There's 47 in the world. That's like 47 times to like understand it. That's not a lot. It's not even like a statistical sample size.
Yeah, out of like, if we guess, it's like the same population as it is now, because it seems like fairly modern day. Like, I guess it could be. They've got like kind of old style cell phones. So it's like close to modern day, but like not quite.
Wikipedia said it came out in 2012.
Oh.
But like you gotta appreciate Kai, because he was like, oh, 47? Like that big? Is that what he said? He said, oh, that's quite big.
Oh yeah, yeah. He said, oh, that's pretty common.
Like, not really though.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
thanks for your optimism, but no.
I feel like he started there, but then he actually transitioned his opinion because he was like, oh, it doesn't make any sense for them to be terrorists. There's so few of them.
I don't see how that logic tracks at all, but okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not that no
Oh, no,
demi-human.
I'm saying that like Kai thinking or K, yeah, no Kai.
The main character is Kei,
Who are you
right?
talking about? The main character?
No,
Kei.
no, his friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's Kai.
Yeah, you guys are talking about two different
Yeah,
people.
we definitely
Oh,
were.
oh, we are. Oh,
That's why.
Oh,
That's what
yes.
happened. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Did you guys? What chapter did you guys read up to?
I got to 6.
I just at the end of 5.
I think I got up to 8.
Oh, up to 8. Wow.
Oh.
I read the least. All right, cool.
No, I got halfway, so like I didn't finish it.
Okay.
That's fine. I really think chapter 6 is interesting because he meets those people who contacted him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the whole part where he's like, wow, they seem pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Part.
Do they not talk about like all the murder?
No, he's like, man, I wonder how they broke out of that facility.
Oh,
But
and
we
then,
won't.
like,
But he doesn't ask.
no
He
follow-up
asks.
questions. That's good.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, we released your sister from the, we kidnapped her to get your attention, and then we released her.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, wow. I guess I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, that was actually true, wasn't it? Did I
Well,
misunderstand that?
Yeah, they did.
They didn't hurt her. Yeah, they just killed a bunch of people to get to her, and then released her.
Yeah. Okay.
Now see, but the real
But they didn't hurt her.
The real duplicity was the fact that they set up like them getting attacked just to get him into prison. Like I was like, what?
Okay. So the thing that happens in the chapter is like they do all those questions, they kind of vet him, they show off that they're demi-humans too, using a knife. And then as they're talking to him, they get attacked with like tranquilizer darts. And like the old guy almost gets hit and he pushes back, or he darts back, and then Kei gets hit. And he's like, oh god, you guys gotta run, and gets knocked out. And they're like, good job. Like,
He failed the test.
we fooled him.
Yep.
Yeah, the moment he cared about his sister is the moment he failed the test to us.
You cannot
Can't
join
join our cool group.
You cannot join the Brotherhood of Evil.
Okay, but like, I guess does Kei know that like his sister and his mom like sold him down the river immediately, and like don't love him anymore?
Probably not.
Or
No.
No, he had no
Did that
contact
not
with
come
him
up?
at all. No.
huh?
Okay, so I do like the ending of chapter 6 is them going pretty much, well, we've got to get him to change his mind. He cares about humans way too much. So the best way to do that is to give him to the humans.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll probably work if they treat him anything like they treated definitely 2 and probably 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then I guess because like throughout the book we see like I think it's like at the beginning of each chapter, other than at the beginning of 1 as well. Like we see various like ways of killing this person who's just labeled as 002, who is one of the like 2 demi-humans in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty diverse, I'll say. They hit a lot of different bases.
Yeah.
So my question is, if there's 2 demi-humans in Japan, he's number 2, who's number 1? Is it her, or is it the old guy? The assistant or the old guy?
Probably the old guy.
That's an interesting question.
I think it's probably the old guy. Because...
like, I would be inclined to say the old guy. But that is an interesting question.
Because the reason why I think that is because Tosaki, the like private investigator, I guess. No, sorry. Working with the
government
Health
guy.
and Labor Wellness Department, whatever that is.
Yeah.
He was talking to his assistant, who is also a demi-human, and he was like, "I'm trying to keep you under wraps." Like, so to me, I don't know if they would have that in the books as that.
Yeah, either it's a situation where she's like a secret 4th Japanese demi-human, or it's that she is like maybe like not all of their identities are revealed to the public, but I feel like the first option is more likely. They would be.
I feel like, because I don't remember, I feel like she's the first one, and then the old guy, I don't think he's Japanese. So what if he just came over from another country?
Yeah, because they just say like they see the old man in a crowd, and they're like, "Oh, that man is here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess if he was just number one, they'd say, "Oh, number one is here."
Neither of them have like giant ones painted on them, so
like didn't they call him Hat? I think they called him Hat.
Whatever his name is, I'm willing to just call him Old Man.
Well, he actually does have a name, and I found this out in the article that I read. Mr. Sato.
Oh yeah, Sato.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very common name, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It just sounds familiar, so I'm like...
But I remember it because they say it a lot in the story.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Sato.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I'll tell you. The humans did not give Kei a lot of reasons to be on their side. I did read that
Yeah,
much.
I bet not.
Well, they lost their second one. So like, they gotta just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I wasn't super clear on, like, what any of those experiments were supposed to do. Like, okay, here's what we know about demi-humans. They do not die when they are killed, and they come back. So, the way we'll test them is we'll keep killing them to see if they come back. Like, you're not drawing blood, you're not checking, their genome or anything. Just like, well, let's see if they survive being pressed to death. What about being shot? What if we stab them a whole bunch? Like, what's that supposed to prove?
I mean, they have found out stuff from that, I'm pretty sure. Because, like, you find out, like, oh, dying in this way is bad, dying in this way can help you with this and that. So they must have found that out somehow. But also, you're right, they just don't seem to be taking that many, like, notes. They're just like, interesting.
Yeah, not a whole lot of scientific method going on. It's like, what's the hypothesis? What are you testing?
Where's the control group?
What are the variables?
Well, the thing that is coming to my head is the one thing that they did find out was that if you cut off a limb and then it's too far away from the body, they'll just grow another limb.
Yeah, there's a lot of little weird things that they definitely have about them.
And about the
caveats.
scream. Or I guess they call it the voice. Like, the demi-humans have a voice that makes people paralyzed or temporary.
Not if they're close to them. If they're close to the demi-human, like, personally, and also if they're just unaware that it's a demi-human, they're less affected by it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was my question. When they said close, I was like, close physically or close emotionally, but I guess
just like bliss of ignorance, I guess. Like,
yeah. Although I will say, like, to that, I don't know, like, I could believe that in, like, an animal. Like, I could believe that that's something they would have, like, an ability of, like, paralyzing people. Or not people, but other animals perhaps. Only if you're, I don't know necessarily about close, but if you're unaware that the animal is there, they probably couldn't paralyze you. I could believe that. That seems within believable parameters.
I'm the opposite. I understand, your family or your friend, it's part of your pack, so you're less affected by their attack. But you just weren't aware they were there. I'm still gonna get knocked out by the tranquilizer dart, even if I don't know it's being shot at me.
I guess I'd have to reread it, but I think I may have interpreted it as the demi-human wouldn't be able to affect them if they didn't know they were a demi-human.
No,
Or wait,
how I interpret it was
So like maybe I misinterpreted it, but that's kind of like how I saw it. I'd have to read it again.
yeah, how I interpreted was that if the human didn't know that you were a demi-human, you would not be affected. Which is
as
like
much.
almost feels useless.
Yeah, I mean,
You're like, I'm a demi-human, and they're like, what?
I mean, I guess if it's a defense mechanism, you're probably going to be interacting with people who know you're a demi-human. So I guess in that way, it makes sense.
yeah.
So, I mean, so far the plot is pretty much just Kei being like, well, I gotta go find a new way to live away from humans because I can't trust humans. And the thing is, he's super right, the fact that he can't trust humans. And he's just like, he doesn't even know it, the fact that like everybody is just willing to sell him out as soon as possible.
Yeah, he was looking for a community of demi-humans, and then he realized he can't trust the demi-humans either.
Well, he hasn't realized that yet, has he?
No, he hasn't.
I don't. Oh, okay. Well, in volume 2.
By the yeah, but at the current moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, I kind of wanted to go back a little bit to talking about his powers a little bit, or well, not really like specific powers, but I just really liked the idea of like they crashed to the motorcycle and broke his legs, but he was still alive. He didn't die from that crash. So he just like picked up a pocket knife and like jammed it in his neck. It was all like, okay, all good. I healed.
Yeah.
It was just like, ooh.
You know, in volume 2, he asked an interesting question. He was like, so if I die of dehydration, like, will I come back with like, you know, being hydrated? Like, where did all that water come from?
Yeah. Just absorbed it from the air.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a simple answer is like, well, how do you grow your limb if it's like that far away? Like, you know.
It's true.
It'll just happen.
Just rearranging atoms, basically. Molecular construction.
Just
powers.
rearranging atoms naturally.
Yeah.
Subconsciously.
Exactly.
Yeah, really what they need to do.
I do think it's interesting.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that one of their experiments just needs to be launching one of them into space.
You know what?
One of them.
That might be the single most effective way at, immobilizing them permanently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about burying them underground?
I would assume they can control their shadow creature, which we didn't explain they have.
Just like a shovel.
So
the shadow creature can't push them back to Earth from space.
Probably not, because they don't have rockets.
I mean,
they need a
what would it be
force to
pushing
push
against?
them in the opposite direction.
It's just swimming.
There are two types of demi-humans. There are regular demi-humans that just don't die, and then there are a special kind of demi-humans called variants, which have a shadow mummified creature with them. And so that's what Kei is. Yes. And the old guy, 002, Tanaka is also his name.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Sato.
I don't know about Mr. Sato. But
I mean, if he doesn't, if he didn't have one, it seems like he knows a lot about them. So, I guess, we don't see his definitely not a stand, but...
Yeah.
And then, the other one, which was kind of surprising, was the assistant also is a variant demi-human.
Yes.
Which also makes me seem to think maybe the investigator also is, and that has something to do with those mints that they're eating all the time.
I don't know. I mean, he offered it to the other guy, and the other guy was like, nah.
I mean, but
Are you
maybe
saying
he
the mints
knew
power him?
that he wasn't gonna. Well, or
Oh,
like
I
maybe
see.
they're like some kind of like mind control drug or something. Because like here's the
That he's
thing.
taking himself.
Let's say that like the assistant is 01 for a second. It's like the first demi-human they ever found. Like at least like it doesn't make sense if they treated 1 like they did 2. Why 1 would ever work for the government?
Oh, gotcha.
Unless they are like chemically manipulating them.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you, but I don't think that that would say that the investigator is a variant.
Or a demi-human at all? Or
Mm-hmm. Yeah, demi-human at all.
Okay.
I personally don't think that he is.
Yeah, it's really tough to say because, like, I mean, so there was one line of dialogue that I really liked, and I feel like if it turns out that he is a demi-human, I feel like it just like cancels it out almost, where it was like, you know, basically there's all of these themes of like what is a human, what is not a human, you know, and then he says something like, we aren't human right now, we are officials, you know, and I just thought that was like just really like, you know, we are hunting down these non-human things, but also we have to take away our own humanity right now.
I guess yeah,
so
like that's a little on the nose. If they're both not, or if they're both demi-humans, then yes, that's on the nose. But like, also, at least one of the people in that scene actually aren't human according to the book.
Yeah.
Also, like, what are the odds the Prime Minister put the dude they put in charge of hunting down demi-humans just happens to be a demi-human too.
Yeah, man. I'm not sure if it really settled in my brain when I was reading that the only way you can know is by, you know, having an injury sufficient to kill, because like it's like you can't test that. If they didn't know that he was a demi-human, they wouldn't know. There's no demi-human.
It's just like weird because like they seem to get discovered like they survive fatal accidents, but like what if you live to like 102, die of organ failure? Do you just like come back?
Well, that's the whole thing, right? They were talking about do they age at one point? Like I think 2 characters, probably the 2 guys who originally come upon them with bats, are like, do they even age? You know, does it matter? Like, who cares?
I mean, that seems like pretty obvious though. Like our main character definitely has aged, like at least between the incidents with like the dead dog and the current events.
But
Cody,
after
like,
you've
Wonder
discovered
Woman
you're
was a child.
demi-human. So, no, that's the thing, like, is it, you know, maybe after you've died for the first time, maybe you stop aging then?
That was the question he had of, like, do you become a demi-human, like, after you die?
Or were you, like, demi-human the whole time?
But,
which is...
I mean, he definitely was demi-human the whole time. Like, we know that for sure.
I mean, like, I guess, but, like...
Yeah.
Well, because he saw the shadow creature when he was a kid.
Person.
I mean, yeah, he saw his stand, or, excuse me, not stand. Like, at the age of, what was he, like, 6 or 7, probably?
Don't even know.
Child.
Yeah.
Young. We don't get a whole lot of, like, solid ages thrown around. Yeah. Like, the only, like, definite time I'm sure about is 17 years. Yeah. So, like, he's 17 now, so I guess he'd be, like, a high schooler. I said middle schooler earlier, but, like,
Good point, Jake. I was like, oh, okay, they're in middle school. I didn't think about that. And then I was like, oh, they're not in middle school.
It's, yeah, because I guess, yeah, if he's 17, he should be a high schooler, but it's just, like, I guess they're, like, maybe it's just, like, you know, Western live-action shows passing off, like, Tobey Maguire as a high schooler. Like, my expectations of what a high schooler should look like is flawed, but, like, they do look young in this comic.
I should say the art style, they definitely, they're drawn very, the eyes are really big, and like the proportions of the face are like that towards the beginning of the series, and it totally changes like as it keeps going.
Gotcha.
From that, because I remember looking at this, original style it started out with and being like, ooh, not in love with that, but like some of the later stuff.
Yeah, for it being released in 2012, it looks like a much older manga.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I noticed though the big eyes with Azumi. That was the face that came in my head. I was like,
her eyelashes are too long.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wonder if they were like I wasn't sure before it was revealed that Azumi was a demi-human. I was like, where is this character like going? I didn't see the death coming, like, because we weren't supposed to know that she was a demi-human, and even after she died, I was like, oh, I guess she's gone now. Like, I really was like convinced that was a real death.
Okay, see, that was something that like that I thought was gonna come up a lot more in the future, because like they do it once in this book where like we have a fake out death where it's like, oh, that person didn't die, they were actually a demi-human, and it seems like that's a pretty useful tool if you have like a character that's really well liked, or like you don't want to actually die. You kill them, and then, oh, it turns out they were a demi-human the whole time.
There's only one character that comes to my mind that they would do that, or like that's beloved. There's only one character.
I mean, like we already got the one fake out with the assistant, and now you're saying that also Izumi got the same fake out with like, oh, I was a demi-human.
What?
No, Izumi is the assistant.
I thought you were talking about the sister.
No.
Oh.
Was a demi-human.
No.
Oh.
No, she's not a demi-human.
No, the sister is not the beloved character. No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, the beloved
that little
character
girl's
is
hateful.
No.
Ray, Kei.
Kei and Kai. I don't know where the R's are coming from with you.
Because they said Ray, and I was thinking of Ray from Star Wars. I made that connection at one point, and that was it.
Who said Ray?
I don't think it's even spelled the same.
No one said Ray. It's just there was something about K that reminded me of Ray, and then it just stuck.
Oh.
Actually, Talon, earlier you did say Ray.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. Yep.
Okay, so there's Kei and Kai, and you were talking about Kai. You would think that Kai might be a demi-human in order for them to kill him and then him come back.
It would be that beloved character,
which I guess
that, like, we wouldn't want to see die.
We might have seen that already and just like not been aware of it, because like when that person
that's a motorcycle accident to survive.
The biker attacks them. Kei breaks his leg in the fall. Kai gets like catapulted and falls into the ocean, and then like he tries to like negotiate with the guy who kicked him off the road to call an ambulance, because the kid who's like in the ocean busted his head open on the rocks. He's just a human. He needs help. And then like a couple panels later, Kai is just coming out with like a Superman punch and a rock down to murder again immediately.
Yep.
He's like, it's fine. I like get catapulted off my motorcycle all the time.
Yeah, and he just kind of like brushes it off. Like Kay's like, Kay is like, how'd you survive that? I had a broken leg. He's like, how'd you like get out scot-free? And he's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. We have reached the top of the hour, so we're going to take our hour break.
So, coming back to Ajin, demi-human, where basically it's about a boy that discovers that he is one out of a minority of immortal beings. And he's on the run.
Yep. And we were ending our discussion about his friend and how, he's like, ride or die, as Jake said. Because
Yeah.
Well,
as soon as Kei was like, "Hey, bro, help me out," he's like, "All right, I'm there." Now,
Immediately
to me,
down to fight a cop and leave his whole
Yeah.
life behind. I don't know if he had family
Yeah.
or anything. But like,
I-
fights a
yeah.
cop, steals a bike, rides out of town, gets in another fight with a bunch of people, rides out,
Mhm.
gets into another fight with a motorcycle person,
Mhm.
kills them,
Yeah.
and then just like hunkers down in a cabin somewhere. And is like, man, what a crazy couple of days. But it's all gonna be worth it when we get to my uncle's village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, to me, with all of that, that just says to me his character isn't developed. To me, like, I'm just like, yeah, but you're just there, like, what? What there was, I didn't feel like they put a lot of thought into his character. They're just like, we just need somebody whose only main job is there, just to be there. I was like,
okay.
okay.
So the thing we just discussed was not just like the fact that he's ride or die, but the fact that he might potentially be a demi-human, and like if there's more demi-humans in the story, it could totally like lower the stakes where like characters die, but not really. It's okay. They're also a demi-human because everybody's a demi-human apparently.
Yeah.
But if he's a demi-human, like we were like, with the motorcycle accident, it's weird how he survived, like in the water, and was able to just like get up and like attack. So going with that line of thought, then wouldn't that sort of provide him with a motivation for like, oh, this other person's been revealed to be a demi-human. My secret's not out, but if I help them, that's like, I'm sort of helping myself in some ways, I guess. Like, I wish somebody would help me.
Mm-hmm. To me, we are placing we came up with the thought that he was potentially a demi-human. It has not been confirmed in the story. So as far as the story is concerned, like, if you didn't have that assumption, then it would read as he doesn't have his character developed.
I think, yeah, so, I mean, we're automatically kind of going for the fact this character isn't developed. Which, as you're saying, it's what we have, all the information we have so far. But if they had added, like, just a scene of, like, Kei maybe questioning him why he was doing this, and him, like, seeming like he's withholding information, even if it was, like, it's because I love you, man. Like, it's just something that they were withholding. Like, if we got some hint that there was more to it.
Right.
Like you're saying, it would probably have helped a lot more with it not just seem one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because like one of the things that like speaks against him being a demi-human is like, if he is, then like, why doesn't he just tell Kei? Because like, what's that gonna do? Like,
True.
especially like they're alone multiple times, and they could just like he could just say, like, "Hey, I'm also a demi-human, and that's why I'm helping you." But
so,
like,
I think if we're going down this trail, I think it would be very simple. I think it would be, I've known you as a human, and I think that you are a human. Like, I don't see you as a demi-human. However, because of that, and how humans have been, told to believe that demi-humans are less than human, I don't know if you're going to give me the same benefit of the doubt as I've been giving you. That kind of thing.
That would be a really interesting... I think I might be, like, thinking about it a different way from you, Talon, but, like, the whole idea that, I didn't want you to think I was only helping you because I'm a demi-human, too. Like, I actually, like... I don't want you to look at me differently, even though you're also demi-human.
Right. Yeah. It's kind
I mean,
of
yeah,
the same thing, but, like, different ways of expressing it.
It would be a weird contrivance, but not like so weird that it would be like it's out of the picture completely. I guess I'll say that.
Yeah, I guess too, I'll say that, like, I suppose that on a technical standpoint, I can agree that he has not been given the chance in the story to be developed, but that doesn't change the fact that he's one of my favorite characters of this story, where it's just like, he's very loyal. he's cool in that he like, you know, kind of like standard symbols of coolness, you know, he has a motorcycle, but then also he's kind of just like, I don't really care about like, you know, the social, like, you know, what is expected of me. I make my own meaning of my life. And then, you know, he's just like, yeah, I mean, even more than loyal, it just seems like he's like really truly good, and that's just something that I really like in the character. Like, goodness.
Oh my.
So yeah, that's I think that, you know, even if he's underdeveloped, I'm like, I still want him around. I don't feel like
I agree.
I don't want to just like pluck him out and be like, nothing gained or lost.
I feel like that, like, because I'm thinking about who my favorite character is now, and I feel like it really highlights a difference in, like, desire for the story. Because my favorite is, of course, the ultimate villain of the story.
Oh.
Because Carnage.
Which, like, honestly, like, at this point, like, having read 5 chapters, no idea who that overarching villain could be. Like, is it the government? Like, the government seems like the easy choice.
Okay, well, of course it's the government, but, like, not... No, I don't care about the government.
You threw me way off because you said Carnage. I was like, wait, what? He's in this? I don't
yes, the Carnage symbiote shows up. Cletus Cassidy shows up in Japan.
No, he would be like the shadow, you know, mummified figure, you know?
No, definitely the verb Carnage.
Yes.
Anyway, back onto who the villain is.
So that is Tosaki. Am I understanding? Yeah.
No, it feels like Tosaki has a higher up that he reports to. Like, but whether that's like somebody in the government, or maybe it's like the demi-humans all along are actually bad. Maybe that's it. Or
okay, to be fair, I haven't, like, the story isn't finished. It's an ongoing story, so I can't claim they're the overall villain. They are a major villain, is what I should have said.
Okay, so they're not highlighted in this volume, is what I'm gathering.
Was it the assistant the whole time? Is she the real mastermind?
Okay, what I'm trying to get
My favorite character has shown up so far. That's what I will say.
What I'm trying to get at is we would not assume that this is the main character.
Oh, or is it the puppy who died? Is he actually the one?
No, it's all...
God, that puppy part where his mom is like, oh, it's defective. I'm like, it's a puppy.
Yeah. It's also, I'm all like, I don't know, they don't seem like what was, like, veterinary medicine then, you know? Like, was it, like, totally, like, unable to be fixed?
I would assume, like, it just didn't get its shots, because, like, if you get a puppy and, like, you don't get its parvo shot or something, and then it gets parvo, then your puppy dies.
I was more of reacting to the fact that his mom was automatically like, ugh, defective puppy died on us. It's like, man, I don't think Kei's family life might have been that great before he was a demi-human either.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
Good point. Okay, I see now. I guess the reason that I was even bringing that up was because I think I misread that scene. I didn't realize that the puppy was dead at that point. I thought they was just sick.
I'll be honest, I totally forgot the puppy. Like, out of the memory bank.
Wow, it's the most important character as we've established.
Yeah. No, I'm now in my head. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say basically that my headcanon now is that it was all a red herring, and Kai is actually the major villain, and so we both have the same favorite character, just for different reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it's more important the reasons. You're like, he's a really good character, he's a good person, and I'm like, I like this character because they are the worst and they will stop at nothing to like ruin everybody else's day.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It must be Mr. Sato. Must be.
No, come on. What ruins your day more than your puppy dying? It was the puppy. Read between the
Keeps
lines.
doing it. The puppy keeps doing it.
Oh my gosh, an animal invariant? They didn't even think of that.
Yeah, can an animal be like can there be a demi dog or a demi rat
Yep.
or a demi pigeon?
I mean, we'll never know until it attacks us, I guess.
Yep.
You know, demi-humans seem more dangerous than they really say, you know? They're like, man, thank goodness they're not dangerous at least, and then...
immediately dangerous.
I love it when Tosaki is like telling the kind of like local cop, and he's like, oh yeah, demi-humans aren't dangerous. And then they leave the tent and he tells his assistant, oh, unless they're an invariant.
Speed walking away. Not to mention.
Man, yeah.
Which he's telling an invariant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
That's true. I didn't think of that, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, demi-humans aren't dangerous except for you.
Yeah.
Except for those variants. Like, ugh. If we go back to Kei's family life for a second, did we ever see his father at all?
Definitely
or like,
not
do they
his
even
fault,
talk about him having a father? Like, obviously,
Not so far.
he should have a father,
Yeah.
but like, is it like an absent father? Did the father die? Is like this random person going around and making all the demi-humans?
I feel
And that's why his father's not around?
No, his father is a shadow figure.
I feel like they could have like easily, like, I know that you criticized them not showing them doing like blood work and stuff, but I'm sure that they must have like been like, okay, are these people related like genetically? So I really doubt that.
I mean, we don't have the documents, so maybe they are.
I'm just gonna say I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Wait, you doubt what?
That they're genetically related. All of the demi-humans.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I think after 47 demi-humans, they would have noticed.
Yeah. But I will say that I feel like his dad is probably just generally around, but not pictured yet, because I feel like that is like a very common manga trope. Is just like, oh yeah, I have a father, or
final boss.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're not going to go on an adventure if you have like a really solid family unit.
Like it was like way back when we read what is it? I'm blanking on the name, but it's the one where the school disappears.
Oh, Drifting Classroom.
Drifting Classroom. Yeah, it was like his the main kid's dad didn't show up for like a good couple chapters, and it was like, oh, well,
and he was just there, and he's not even important.
Yeah. So yeah,
maybe.
I'm gonna say
I guess yeah. There's a spectrum of absent fathers in manga, because like some are super important, and that's why they're absent.
Goes from Shinji's dad.
And then sometimes,
else.
It's just, he's just out playing sax somewhere. That's why he's not in the story.
Yeah. You know what I just thought of? I doubt that they're going to go this direction, but to me, I'm like, okay, demi-human must be like passed down genetically through an X gene, through the father, like,
through an X gene.
But then the invariants are like they like their soul has been captured, like, and that's why they're seeing
captured by what? What do you mean?
Just
as
like
compared to what?
Just throwing random theories out there.
Not being in their body.
And this has been
what is that?
Throw spaghetti at the wall.
Yes.
It's like, okay, sure, maybe it's genetic. I can get behind that, but then also souls somehow. Come on now.
I mean, okay. Also, not to necessarily validate Taylon's theory because it's bananas, but I will say that I am getting the vibe off of this book that it's like a lot of like, at least like pseudo-scientific approach. If we, obviously we've judged them for not like doing actual science, but it feels like there's like a magical element with like a very scientific approach from the real world. It's all like
perhaps.
What'd you say, Shwenta?
Perhaps with those shadow people.
Well, yeah, okay,
I feel like
maybe
just
it's rather obvious,
given.
but yeah, I don't know. Okay, maybe that didn't really need to be said, but
I mean, yeah, like maybe like the shadow people are their souls. That could be, because like we do see a little bit of variation between like the couple we see, because we see like one's a claw man, one's a club
One looks
woman,
like Phineas,
and then there's also Kei's, which I don't think we see. Like I think he has claw hands, but also like he doesn't get any fights, so I don't know what his deal is.
I mean,
yeah.
If we're looking at it, Tanaka number 2 said, it uses his eyes, so he has to he's closing his eyes so he can focus on what it's seeing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that.
Oh. Yeah, Volume 2 does some... Wait, is it Volume 2? Yeah, it must be Volume 2.
Yeah.
Volume 2 does some weird stuff with that.
Good to know.
I guess I gotta read Volume 2 at some point.
Because, I don't really understand it, because it seems like it, backtracks what we already saw, but, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We will not...
That's promising.
Yeah, but,
This is Chapter 6, is what I'm talking about, so... Yeah. First chapter of Volume 2.
Oh, okay. Anyway, though, going back to it, though, I do think that, even if it's a little more obvious than I realized, I think that it is still an important theme to notice, where it's all, this very, clinical way of studying what's going on versus, I mean, I don't think anybody has even, mentioned, I think Kei saying it's a ghost is the only kind of spiritual anything in this book. Nobody in universe has even thought I feel like that's something that comes up even when aliens come down to Earth in a sci-fi series, there's always going to be people where it's they're actually angels, or they're sent from God or something, but this has none of that, no, as far as we've seen anyway. Nobody has been all they're actually magic, or they're actually gods, or whatever, which is
they're either aliens or they're not, according to the people, and they're well, they're not aliens.
Yeah.
Unless
and also unless
they are is the I don't know little green men experiment on people, babies, maybe, I don't know. And started in indeterminate amount of time ago, and then only got discovered 17 years ago.
Yeah, okay, I could latch onto that, where it's all they get psychically connected with aliens. Maybe it is more a symbiote relationship.
Well, now I don't want it to be aliens. Just for that.
When you were talking about the whole thing with ghosts, Cody, I didn't think about the fact that he saw the shadow person there, and his sister did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to remember, the other characters don't tend to see these creatures, do they?
Yeah, only demi-humans can see them, seems like.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
wait, are we going to say only demi-humans or only variant demi-humans?
I'm going to
say
demi-humans.
We haven't seen any, non-variant demi-humans yet.
That's a good point.
I feel like everybody's just going to become a variant. Oh, we're all the special kind, not those normie ones.
And, I don't want to say it again, but it's another similarity to them being stands. Only stand users can see other stands. Only demi-humans can see other demi-humans. This is not stands.
I have a feeling it's going to be the whole thing again, where if I know you're a demi-human, I can see it too.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if that's why they have a demi-human working for them in the government. Is that basically now they have a non-killing test. They can, if you can see
For the invariants.
or yeah, for variants. I guess that's true.
Well,
But that's
as
the
we
most
said
dangerous
already,
kind.
like those seem to be those are the only dangerous ones, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the only one that matters.
Who cares
really.
about the rest?
Ah, that's it. That's it. Kai is just a demi-human, not a variant, just a demi-human. Yep.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, we haven't seen his ghost. And if you want to circle back to the ghost powers for a second, I think it's interesting. So, like, most of them seem to, like, just have physical fights. But Kei's, like, at that first fight they had, like, he uses his voice to get them all to freeze and then get away. And sometime in between, I'm not super clear on the timeline, he says, I want them all to die. And then, as they're running away, they chase the... Kei and Kai run away on a bike. The people who were trying to kidnap them get into a van, try to run after them, and just stop on the train tracks. And they just kind of look at each other like, hey, why'd you stop on the train tracks? And he's like, I can't move.
Yeah.
And then they die by train. And so it's like, oh, interesting. He said he wanted them to die, and then they died.
And he seems unaware of the fact.
Yes, also true.
So, do you think that? So, we didn't. I don't think we discussed it, but there seems to be a different way of how demi-humans control their mummified, shadow creature. Because Izumi is just like. It feels more like she's in the fight, like she's moving the creature, and Tanaka is more. He's got to like cover his eyes, and then that's how he fights. But then, Kei is just like, I want them to die, and then they just do it.
Okay, so. One thing that I want to clarify, did I imagine that there was at least like one panel where it was like the little mummy, what are we going to call them? Variants, ghosts? I don't know. The shadow things, whatever.
We'll just call them shadow creatures.
Yeah, basically I thought that there was a panel where it was holding on to the driver of the vehicle. Okay.
That's why he couldn't move.
Gotcha. And that was the assumption. So yeah, it seems like they at least, if we're going to continue the comparison that Jake made to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fans, then at least some can be controlled remotely, but not necessarily all. So there may be variants within the variants, so to speak.
I think, and this is like not even based on what I've read more of, I think that it's because of different levels of experience with controlling them. Like Tanaka's like, oh, I have to cover my eyes to like control it. I think he's just not used to seeing double. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. Okay,
gotcha.
And yeah, and that
because like he literally mentions this is like I've never fought with one of these before, so like. He's just testing it out, sort of.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to me, I thought Izumi was out of her depth as well. Like, she seemed to be as confused as he was.
I don't know if I...
Well, no, because she knew to, like, if you hit the weird ghost thing in the head, then it will, like, disintegrate. I don't know. And, like, when Tanaka is fighting, he's like, I don't know how to fight another shadow thing. What do I do? He's like, I'll try to cut it, I guess.
By surprise. Like, she just had been killed and just regenerated, so, like, surprise. Also, they do mention that the best way of taking down demi-humans is not just like shooting them in the legs or something, but actually just putting them into a deep enough sleep so that they can't control their shadow person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Also,
Is
another
it specifically
thing
so they can't control their shadow person, or is it just because like if you shoot them, they're just going to get better, but if you like put them in a coma and they don't die immediately, then you can just arrest them?
I was under the interpretation of they wouldn't be able to control their shadow creature.
I don't think it's said in this volume, but it is what I
Oh,
think it is.
I see.
It's
Okay.
what I think. Because, like, because I'm also assuming based on the fact that Kei, like, you know, he gets knocked out, and then, like, his shadow person is still able to walk around. It's like, how else would you deal with that?
Gotcha. We are going to take our 1 hour, 30-minute. We're going to take our few minute break at the hour 30 mark.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the comic panel, your comics radio show in Fairbanks. This is we're coming back after our
1 hour 30 break.
Hour 30 break, yeah. So we'll be on the air for just another 20 minutes about. So.
And before we get into the conversation, the last 2 songs that you heard are from the Ajin anime on Netflix.
Right. So going
Which,
back
yeah, have any of us watched? Can we even like recommend that as a alternate form to?
Don't watch it.
I maybe started
just read the
one
manga.
episode.
I mean,
but I don't remember.
Didn't even know it was out.
I mean, okay, so I've only watched like part of an episode, but somebody else who watched it and who hasn't read the manga was like, "Oh, it's fine once you get used to the 3D." Like, I don't want to get used to it, so just read it.
Yeah.
I guess so. If you don't mind 3D animation, then sure.
Now see,
but
this is my question.
Super choppy 3D animation.
Is it like
the
new animated series Spider-Man 3D animation, or are we talking?
Oh, like, was it made on a PS2? I don't think so.
Yes.
Like, it was made with modern computers.
Or
but
are
it's
we
just
talking
like
about Green Lantern, the animated series animation?
Yeah, definitely not cartoony like Pixar kind of.
Well, no, it's more 3D, the Green Lantern show.
I feel like maybe we're thinking of different Green Lantern shows, but I remember one that's like very 3D cartoony looking, I guess, style. But
well, if it's 3D, then we might be thinking the same thing.
Okay, but yeah, this one is like, yeah, I don't know how to describe it.
It's very obviously 3D, and also it's choppy because they're doing a certain technique to like mimic 2D, how 2D is like 24 frames or 12 frames per second.
Is it like the skipping motion?
It's not seamless.
Is it like the skipping motion that Miles Morales pointed out in Into the Spider-Verse? Or is it like the Into the Spider-Verse animation?
Like, you're on the right track with like the frames per second, but like imagine that, but done badly with very little budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
And instead of like it holding a thematic purpose, it just looks bad.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
By my opinion.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular opinion.
All you have to do is get used to it.
Yeah. Anyway, though, going back to the book discussion, there was one thing. So we were talking about basically the demi-human variants and the different ways that they can control them. And Shawenta brought up that it was a matter, or her theory at least is that it was a matter of practice. And I think that one key piece of information that backs that up, I think, is that it was almost a throwaway piece of dialogue, but basically the the bad guys, Sato and what's the
Tanaka.
Tanaka.
Yeah, basically they say you know, oh, he's been able to control it since he was young, you know, and so that explains why, you know, it's like kind of a subconscious control. Obviously he doesn't really even know that he's doing it, but he can, like, obviously control it from far away and doesn't even, you know, realize that he's doing it.
Yeah.
Has a pretty good control, which I feel like is going to basically play into the trope of main character is just naturally really good at the fighting stuff.
I will say, so Volume 2 kind of gives you a different take on that. And so, spoiler alert, I'll just say that. It's, or for Kei specifically, it's more like there seems to be some kind of distance between him and his shadow creature.
Okay. Interesting.
At least that's how I interpret it. If you finish 6, maybe you'll get a different interpretation.
I see. Okay. Were you gonna say something else?
Not a tangent, but that the fact that you said that, like, he can subconsciously do it, he's been able to do it for most of his life, probably. Do you think he used it to cheat on tests? Do you think that's why he's such a good student?
Huh.
I feel like he wouldn't study as much if he were subconsciously cheating.
Or he thinks he's learning, but really it's the creature going around finding the right answers and then putting it into his head.
Well, that would require you to be able to recognize the right answers, right? So you'd never be top of the class.
Okay, but okay. How would the shadow person know what the right answer is?
Okay, I see what you mean. Gotcha. He has the answer.
Like, if it's... What?
Sorry, I doubted you, Kei.
It's a simple solution.
Why can't he just be a good student? Why is he, like, supernaturally cheating? Come on now.
No, Jake, I agree with you. I think he is a good student. Because I find it funny, like, in the beginning of the book, they were like, man, why are you so studious? And he was like, geez, I'm just trying to, like, build a life for myself. Gosh.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, that makes me think about the fact that, like, throughout the book, Kei goes from, like, oh man, why don't they understand me? Why are they turning on me? To, like, man, I like humans. You kill them once, they're gone.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Man, he went downhill quick.
Yeah. And he actually had that same mentality about demi-humans. He was like, they cross me, they're not gonna like it.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that, like, you know, he basically had, like, a pretty normal life as far as we could see. Maybe some not so great, like, parents potentially, but, like, other than that, it's like, you know, just, like, normal kid. And there's, like, how did you get so intense, you know? Like, you had, like, just a couple of traumatic events, you know? You shouldn't have such a strong character flip so fast.
I do feel like he was already a pretty negative person. He's like, when he doesn't like his classmates, all he thinks to himself is like, oh, well, they're my classmates. I have to get along with them. He's not willing to acknowledge that he doesn't like them at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't really think about that. I wonder if that's, like, almost like an argument that, like, you know, he has felt, like, disconnected from humanity and just didn't even know it, you know? I could see that being explored a little bit more. Like, yeah, because that's something that we haven't, like, technically, yes, he's, like, been all like, am I human, am I not? But I haven't, like, felt that dilemma in his character. I feel like I've just, like, you know, the words have been said, but I haven't actually felt Kei, like, really question his humanity yet.
I will say, there's, like, a part later on in the story where I don't think Kei's necessarily have to go through it, but he makes someone else sort of go through the fact of, like, oh, you can't die, so I can just, there's no consequences. I can do whatever. Like, I don't have to keep going if I don't want to, or I can keep going as much as I want. And I think he's sort of, well, I might be mixing it up. It's been a while since I read it. Somebody has to go through the whole ordeal of realizing, no, I have to choose willingly to, like, get up every day and work towards my goals. Just because I'm, like, demi-human doesn't mean I can, like, do whatever. I'm probably not summarizing it well, but
I did get this inkling, not from the book, but from somewhere else. It might have been the articles that I read, but that there seemed to be kind of there seemed to be some sort of limit in their abilities to come back, and it was kind of like an off, like, one-liner kind of thing. But there seemed to suggest that, like, you come back, you're not 100%, and I'm not entirely certain if that is how it. I don't know if that's expanded upon further along in the story, but I did get that inkling.
Like, is that to say, like, they're not the same as they were, or
it seemed to be, to me, either you're just a little bit weaker, or that you have a limit on how many times you can go back.
I'm not sure if I got that same feeling, but granted, it could have been from extraneous material that you read.
Well, I can kind of see it working kind of thematically. Like, maybe the more times you die, the stronger, like, the shadow thing gets. And that's why, like, Tanaka and Sato are, like, carving through people with their shadow people, because Tanaka has definitely died, like, a bunch of times. Zero presumably has, because of how much he knows about the shadow people, kind of conceptually. So, and then that would explain why Kei, who only died car wreck, slit his own throat, choked to death, like 3 times, doesn't have, like, a very, like, at this point, physically imposing shadow person.
Man, if that is true, can you imagine, like, somebody that is a demi-human that has a terminal illness?
It's tough.
But their shadow person would be, like, really strong.
Real strong, though.
Gotcha. I was thinking more like somebody just decided to jump off really high things for a hobby. And then that's how they got the shadow creature really strong.
What do you mean? Like an Olympic diver, or like
No, like jumping to their death.
That's a really funny concept. Like, they keep dying, but they don't realize it.
Yeah, it just hasn't worked.
Yeah. Honestly, I have this image of just, like, that's, the shadow demons just, doing arm curls, like, yeah, died once more.
Beefing up, hitting the gym.
I'm just, like, imagining a little kid in, like, a bed at the hospital and just, like, a super beefy shadow person.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's a very JoJo's Bizarre Adventure kind of thing, where it's all like, the real enemy was a kid with cancer. Like...
Okay, but you joke. But there was that guy who was in the hospital bed who had that super strong stand.
Yeah. See, exactly. I have. Yeah.
So, what did you guys think of the book overall?
I think it was interesting, but I think it fell flat. It was intriguing in the beginning, and then by the end of it, it fell flat.
I
think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say basically it's almost, I wouldn't say it's a flip of what Taylon just said, but it's like, I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this, but then I felt a little bit more invested towards the end. although it definitely does need a little bit more development, and I think some more clearness to the story and plot, because it was like, at times I was kind of like, what's going on? But having read into the second volume just a little bit, it seemed like maybe those issues were already starting to get cleared up. So.
Yeah, like volume 6 was like,
or you mean chapter 6?
Yeah, chapter 6 was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, if you read all the way to volume 6, you've got like way more context. But yeah, I will say, like, I feel like if I read more, I would like it more. But judging it on one volume, I would say it does raise interesting questions, but I had to kind of form those questions for myself, and they weren't really like nurtured by the narrative. It's like, here are questions that you should be asking about like what's going on here. It was more kind of like stuff just kind of happens, where it's like, oh yeah, and then there's this demi-human, and then there's this guy, and
there's more mean humans, and then there's more mean humans,
and then like 02 isn't actually owned, like captured by the government anymore. He's like out in the wild. It's like stuff just kind of happens.
Yeah.
So again, like if I feel like if I read it more, got a little more context, and maybe like it would like do the thing where like characters talking to another character, but they're actually talking to an audience. Like, don't you think it's weird how like all this stuff keeps happening? And then like the character goes, "What?"
Yeah. Also, I'll add on to that a little bit. It's like it's kind of tough to criticize it on this, but because it's like, oh well, it's an ongoing series, and like they kind of standardize the length of volumes, so it's not like American comics where it's like, oh, we'll just collect this run where like something happens. It's like, well, this is like the length it's going to be. So, but basically the kind of problem I had was like the government agent guy. I can't remember his name. Like nothing really happened with
Sosaki.
him. Yeah, they introduced him, he did some investigating-y stuff, but we didn't really learn much about him, and he didn't do anything, and it's like, well, why was he even there, really, other to...
Yeah, he did, like, typical shadowy government agent things, like he had a checklist.
Yeah.
He lie to the local officials, don't tell my assistant everything, make sure that she gets into a fight, and then...
Eat a lot of mints.
Yeah, have some interesting like tick, basically, like
some quirk. Yes.
That reminds me. Tanaka to me has a really weird tick where he just pulls on his lip. Like that just weirded me out. I was like, okay. Yeah.
I should say, rereading the first volume, I was like, ooh, this is not stellar beginning to me. Like, especially for like. Having read a ton of this series, I don't remember a lot of this beginning. I just remember being like unimpressed with some of the motorcycle fight, and then seeing like was it Kai hit the guy with a rock, and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, I hope there's more of this. And then the story delivered, and also the fact that like the shadow people, where they're like, oh, I figured out what's with the shadow people, like in this volume. I was like, what? Like I've never registered any of this. So.
Quick note: this series actually did end in February. So
of this year?
Oh,
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
I wonder how it ended.
Yeah. That's almost enough to be like a little bit more like spurring on to read more. It's like, oh, okay, there's an ending, and wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, that's 9 years.
I'm definitely going to reread it.
Or 15
it's interesting that we talked about
17.
the fact that, Kei looks so young, because I remember later on, I think, like, he gets shorter hair, and he looks even younger, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm remembering those pages. I'm definitely going to reread it. I love the fights. Some of the action is the coolest, like, way I've seen action drawn. And I don't know, I think some of the way they expand on the backstories of the characters, other than Kei, is like pretty good. I don't remember them expanding on his backstory a lot, but I do like some of the things he goes through. Like, who am I fighting for? Who should I be fighting for? Like, what's the point of all this?
Oh, gotcha. That sounds like a interesting story.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that we are at the end of our show. It is 7 o'clock here in Fairbanks, Alaska. This has been the Comic Panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
And you can listen to us next Monday at 5 o'clock here on KSUA 91.5 FM. Until then, see you next time.
Thank you for listening. You can catch our show Mondays, 5 to 7 p.m. on KSUA 91.5 FM, the People's Radio, in Fairbanks, Alaska. Our Facebook is where you can view some of our earliest shows, as well as receive updates for when we go live on KSUA, when a new episode is uploaded to YouTube, and when a new podcast episode is uploaded. Our handle is It's Comic Time. You can listen to us in podcast format on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean as the Comic Panel Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at _comic_panel and follow us on Twitter at the Comic Panel 1. Have a great rest of your day.